Welcome to another episode of the Good Hearted Podcast. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say if you were triggered by the title of this episode, it was not my intention to offend you at all, but I did want to get your attention because I think this is such an important topic. I feel that women, and especially moms, tend to be very controlling over certain things, and it's hard to let go of that control. But I want to inspire you and encourage you today to simply quit controlling everything. Some things need our control. Some things we need to guide and nudge in the right direction. Some things we do need to do ourselves. But I promise you, there are areas in your life where you can stop being so controlling. And it will be so freeing when you decide to take that step back. I, of course, am speaking from my own experience. I would not be speaking on this topic if it wasn't something that I've already worked through, struggled through, and barely came out the other side. But now that I'm here and I've been on this side of it where I've kind of let some things go, I let other people take over things, it's really nice. So I hope that you'll just listen to this episode, maybe get some inspiration and that encouragement to just let some shit go. That is my goal with this episode, to just let you take a deep breath and get some things off your plate if you want to. Not that you need my permission or anything. So I feel like there are two kinds of people in the world. There are people who know that they are control freaks, and it's kind of like part of their identity. They talk about it all the time. They love being anal and obsessive over everything. And then there's other people that feel like they're, nice and easy, laid back, whatever. But deep inside, they are still controlling, even if it is with a little bit more relaxation kind of woven in there, or they seem relaxed on the outside. So I am that second person. I did not realize that I was a controlling person until several years after I got married to my husband. And so when I thought of myself as kind of a helper, somebody who likes to take care of people, I just always thought I was doing that out of the goodness of my heart because I liked people. I loved helping people. But really, I feel like it was kind of because I was a perfectionist. I was extremely anxious. So I was worried to ask people for help. I was worried that they would let me down. I was worried they would never speak to me again if I asked them to do anything. So when I finally went to Dylan and asked if he thought that I was controlling, he kind of laughed, which was annoying. But then he explained himself a little bit more. And he said it wasn't that kind of obvious control freak that we see with some people. It was more of, it seemed like it came from a place of me wanting to help people, wanting to take care of people, just wanting to keep the burden on myself instead of asking someone else. But that really, I just liked the way that I did things and I didn't necessarily trust someone else, which I just thought that was me being like very anxious and not wanting to talk to people and burden people and also being perfectionist. But it very well also could have been that I just deep down wanted to control the situation. I've always described myself as like easygoing, fun-loving, spontaneous even, but really I was those things in very like protected areas. So, like pre-planned hangouts with approved friends, something that I knew I was going to be comfortable with, like just comfortable enough that I could get a little uncomfortable and do something fun or crazy or wild in that moment. But everything else was like pretty carefully calculated. So I'm not really the like free spirit who just does anything they want to, because I have to think long and hard and overthink and overthink and overthink the things that I want. And because of this, I got really anxious and kind of lost my mind sometimes when last minute plans would come up or changes would happen to that plan. Or even worse, I was like sitting and waiting on someone else to make the damn plan because I was just like, oh my God, like I need to know what time I need to wake up. What do I need to wear? What kind of makeup am I going to wear? Like, what are all these things that I have to do in order to get to that place? I just really got in my head about it, and it would make me spiral because I didn't have the control over certain things. I hated when I had these meltdowns, and I even got embarrassed about it. Like I didn't want to talk to Dylan. I just wanted to just like sit in my room by myself and cry, have my moment, and then I could kind of get myself back together and deal with whatever shit show I was on my way to, even if it was perfectly planned and fine. I just would, in my head, come up with all of these different scenarios and things that weren't going to work out because it was all going to be a domino effect if I didn't know what was coming next. So over the past few years, little by little bit, I have been able to let go of control in certain things because once I realized that some people saw me as a controlling kind of person, I really didn't like that aspect of who I was. I didn't like that I felt like I needed to be in control of certain situations, that I couldn't hand things off to other people. But more importantly, I think the reason I really struggled with this was because it wasn't like I was the best at everything, that only I was capable of the things that I was trying to control. It was more because it was based out of fear. My fear of failing, my fear of having a bad day because it wasn't planned out to a T, fear that no one else could do it as good as me, or it would take twice as long, so I might as well just do it myself. Or even worse, that someone might be annoyed with me or frustrated because I've asked them to do something and to take a burden off of me, which felt selfish at the moment. Or that they would let me down, that I would put myself out there, I would ask for their help, and then they wouldn't show up for me the way I would show up for them. Now, these were all my projections. These were all things that I was afraid of, probably based on past experiences, to be honest, but I didn't necessarily know that this person would let me down or that they wouldn't do it the same way I would or be able to do it in the same amount of time. But I built these things up in my head and felt like I could not ask people for help. And honestly, what makes me really sad when I think about this is I think I didn't want to ask people for help because I felt like I would need to punish myself. Say if I didn't make a deadline or I didn't make a recipe right or any of these things that I could have asked for help with. If somebody else failed, I would love them too much to tell them off or tell them all the things they did wrong or nitpick it or anything like that. I might silently be annoyed with certain things, but like I would never go to them with that. But if I fucked something up, I could drill into myself and be so nasty and just feel like a failure. And I think that was just a regular kind of routine that I had where I would try something new. I would already have in my head that I wouldn't be able to do it or not as well as XYZ who I saw doing it. And then I would be the first one to immediately nag about something that I did because it wasn't just so. It was hard for me to be able to hold someone else accountable for their actions, but I could hold myself to a super unrealistic expectation, fail every time. And then I feel like I almost got enjoyment out of punishing myself. Like I know I didn't, but I did it so much. I feel like there had to be some kind of underlying reason, whether it was just habit, I don't know. Trying to be in control of everything was killing me. It was making me so depressed, so anxious, and I just finally decided I had to let some shit go. And this episode actually goes great with episode 7 that I did that was letting go of perfection, because I do feel like being in control, being a perfectionist is very alike, but there are some different things. That's why I decided to do a separate episode on this topic to quit controlling everything because it's still different enough from perfectionism. But if you haven't listened to that one, make sure you go to episode 7 after you listen to this, and I will leave a link for that in the show notes. Since I primarily talk to women on this podcast, I'm going to start with talking about how to quit controlling everything at home, but this can apply to men too, because I'm sure there are some men that do the bulk of the chores and the cooking and the cleaning and all of that stuff. So just if you are at home and you feel like you are constantly having to control what goes on there, these are some things that I had to let go of and stop controlling. And I feel so much better now. But I feel like your home is where you have really usually the most responsibility. You spend a lot of time there, or at least like your fun free time that you want to enjoy. And sometimes it can be a place of resentment and frustration if you let it be. So I'm all about trying to make my house a home. You know that I love hygge. I love just the idea of making it cozy and welcoming and inviting. And I can't do that when I'm trying to control everything and failing at it. So as I was growing up, in the late 90s and early 2000s, societal norms were starting to shift a little bit, but nothing like they have today. A lot of my friends' moms stayed at home. A lot of the women were in charge of cooking and cleaning and doing the chores and running the kids to ball practice and stuff like that. And most of the dads went to work and then they sat in the recliner for the evening, got their dinner, either in the chair or at the table, and just got to do whatever the hell they wanted, right? And then the mom was always busy doing the dishes after dinner. Us girls would go help out. Even as I was dating as a teenager, and I would go over to the guy's house, right, for dinner, and his mom would be in the kitchen cleaning up. he wasn't expected to come help clean, but I was, or to help make the food or whatever it was. And I was happy to help, but I was also like, this is your son's house too. Like, I was fine with bonding with the mom and all of that, but I just started noticing those differences. And it was kind of funny because then at my house, I would have the boys, help clean up the plates, help load the dishwasher, set the table if we needed to, because I just feel like that should be normal. It's no big deal. Like if you were at somebody's house and they're making you dinner, it shouldn't be a big deal for you to set the table and to clean up after yourself. I feel like that is the bare minimum. So anyway, by the time I was getting married, I still had this thought of how I needed to be the perfect wife and homemaker and to know how to cook all the things and do all the chores and be super organized and pay all the bills, and just like everything would come to me overnight, which if any of you are adults who are listening to this, which I'm sure you probably are, you realize it does not come overnight. It takes lots of practice. It takes missing bills and having low amount in the checking account and missing appointments, having to reschedule, being late to things, not doing the dishes for 2 weeks. Like it's a process, right? To get independent and to learn how to manage all of your things that your parents have done for you your whole life up until this point. So when I got married, I just assumed it was my job to take over all of the chores, all of the things. And I was very eager to do all of that work. So I didn't ask him for help. And if he offered, I would be like, oh no, honey, like you go sit on the couch, you go watch your show. Like I'll stay in here for 3 hours and do the dishes and clean up dinner. And then I'll go do laundry. Or I would make it seem like I was going in right after him to come sit down. And then I would stay in the kitchen and, clean up dinner. But a few years into our marriage, I was older. And I was working and I had a lot going on and I was just overwhelmed. There was no way for me to keep up with all of the house things by myself and go to work, start a wedding photography business, still try to be a daughter and like show up for family functions and things like that, get sleep. And not that Dylan would never ever help during this time. He definitely did, but I did not ask for the help that I needed for like a fair share of help. And that is totally on me. And so I was like voluntarily doing the work of like 3 to 5 people every single week. And I was wearing myself out. I was burnt out. I was extremely anxious. I was overwhelmed. I wasn't sleeping well. I was actually having terrible nightmares at the time. And it's probably because I was running myself ragged and not listening to the signals my body was sending me. So then I started asking Dylan for help. Okay. So I was like, you know what? The dishes like super dry my hands out. I have like extremely dry skin that flares up, especially in the wintertime. And I could use the rubber gloves, but they freak me out. Like the way they feel freaks me out. Sometimes I will still wear them, but I hate them. And I don't know why they are so weird to me. But that and styrofoam, like can't even say styrofoam. I hate both of those things so much. I do not want anything to do with them, but I digress. So I was just like, baby, could you just do the dishes for me? Can that be like your chore, your job? I'll load the dishwasher. I'll put the clean ones away. I'll dry. But like, if you could just like hand wash, that would be amazing. And so once I started asking for help in these little areas, I realized why I did not like to ask Dylan for help. I didn't like the way he did things. I didn't like the way he loaded the dishwasher. It made no fucking sense to me. The way he loaded the mugs in the top rack, the way he put utensils in the little utensil caddy, it all drove me nuts. And I would either like rearrange it right then, or I would wait until he wasn't in the room anymore, had gone to bed the next day, whatever. And then I'd like move everything the way I wanted it. And then I would run the dishwasher. What the hell? Like, why did I do that? Why couldn't I have just been thankful that he loaded the dishwasher? Who cares how they are put in there? As long as they're put in there and clean, it does not matter. But it took me a very, very long time to come to that realization and acceptance, because I felt like, well, he's not doing it the most efficient way, the right way. We could fit more dishes in there. They're not getting as clean as possible because of the angles that they're at. Like, no, like just let him do the dishes. So I realized then that that's where I was controlling. That was my control freak coming out. And that's what was making me so damn nuts and obsessive over everything. So basically what I'm getting to with this story is that if more than one person lives in the house, more than one person makes the mess. It is totally fine and should be normal for everyone in the house to pitch in. Like, it cracks me up when I hear people talking about this and they'll be like, oh, like, I don't let my husband do laundry. I'm like, I let him do the laundry. I used to be worried about him like putting certain clothes in the dryer instead of on the hanging rack, but then I just didn't care because it was getting done. Now, I do still fold my stuff because he cannot fold my clothes right. I will let him fold his own clothes. I fold my clothes. I put my clothes away, he puts his clothes away. Sometimes we help each other out, and I think that's what a partnership should be. But I don't assume he's going to put my stuff away. He doesn't assume I'm going to put his stuff away. That's just how it works in our house. And you better believe as soon as Harper can like reach the little buttons on the washing machine and figure out how it works, I will be teaching her how to do her own laundry, because I think there's also pride to be taken in that you're being a little more independent, you're contributing to the household instead of just being taken care of by somebody. So letting go of this kind of control has been huge for me, to be able to ask Dylan to go do whatever I need done, whether it's a deep cleaning item or just cleaning off the countertops. And I know that he will do it. Will he do it the way I do? No, probably not. But that's okay. He actually might do a way better job than me because he's way more thorough than I am. And plus, I'm like running around trying to do 1,000 other things at the same time. So I'm like, oh my God, I got to scrub this like really, really quick and go, versus like spraying it, letting it soak in, maybe spraying it again, then taking my time to scrub it to make sure it's nice and clean. I'm more of like a frantic, crazy person when I'm cleaning. So I know if I give him that task, it will be done better than what I could do. So ever since I've let go and really quit trying to control everything in my home, it's actually been really freeing, because I know that if I make dinner one night, it's not just on me to do the dishes. We will normally do them together, or sometimes Dylan even takes over if I just had a long day, or if he's going to give Harper a bath, I will do the dishes. So we just kind of trade off. That way it's not one person is lounging and like being lazy, not doing anything, and the other one's working their tail off trying to get something cleaned up. Instead, we try to work together. That way it's done in half the time, or at least do like two things at once, because we like to spend our time together. We do like time apart, but we like to sit together and watch a show or read our books like 90-year-olds. But for us, that's better to stand in the kitchen, have our AirPods in, like listen to our music. We usually don't talk when we do chores, which I guess is kind of weird, but we kind of have that is our alone time, I guess. And then we can go off and enjoy the rest of our evening together. So some other things I've had to let go is the expectation of having 3-course meals every single night. Like I used to be worried about our meal rotation and different sides and like having all of these different options. And then we'd have tons of leftovers, some that would get eaten, some that wouldn't, because I don't even really like leftovers. I know I'm one of those people. But I always felt like I had to be doing something new and exciting and whatever. But let me tell you, last night we had beef with taco seasoning, instant rice, shredded cheese and queso, and tortilla chips. That was our dinner. It was super quick, super easy, also pretty cheap, to be honest. And it was so good. Like, we all three enjoyed it so much. It was quick, it was easy, and even better, Dylan made it. So, was it the healthiest meal? No. Like, of course not. But the fact that it was quick, cheap, and easy, and a plus that Dylan made it, is definitely a win for me. Now that Harper's older, I'm hoping I will get into a different rhythm of trying to try new recipes and incorporate some new meals into our meal plan. But for now, what we have going on is fine. There is no need for us to mix it up. We kind of like eating the same thing over and over again anyway. So if it goes in the Instant Pot or I can pull it out of the freezer, those are my kind of meals. Because in this season of life, I just don't have the luxury of time, and I don't have the patience to try a new recipe and then fuck it up and have to order pizza anyway, because that's what used to happen all the time when I would try new recipes. I usually have to make it like 3 times before I really get it. I am just not a good cook. Sometimes I enjoy it, but only when it's going well, which is like not that often. So again, I've just had to learn what works for me, and that is something I've had to let go of. So this has been a lot about the house, but I have one more point I want to make about kind of letting house stuff go. And that is having like a super clean magazine home. So I know I've talked about stuff in the house a lot, but I just want to talk about one more point. And that is the pressure to keep your house clean, spotless, and looking like you stepped into a magazine all the time. It's wonderful to have a home that you love with decorations that you love, surrounded by things that make you feel at home and feel welcomed and comfortable, but it shouldn't be at the expense of your mental health or your capacity. Before I had Harper, when people would just drop by or say they were on their way, I would have a fucking panic attack. My heart would be racing. I would be running around the house trying to pick up any clutter that was around. And mind you, this was back when I super decluttered my house and I had like nothing and like everything had a home and I just didn't have that much stuff, but I still panicked. I would still Clorox the counters. Like, are they even going to go in my kitchen? Probably not. I would wipe down the bathroom really quick. I would light my candles everywhere. And it was just like anytime somebody was dropping by and it was casual, I made it this big deal. And I got myself all worked up over it. I would be yelling at Dylan, telling him to clean up stuff too. And then the person would like be there and gone in 5 minutes. And I was like, why did I do all that for nothing? So now that I have a toddler at home and it looks like Toys R Us exploded in my living room and, left little bits and pieces all over the rest of the house, I just can't contain it all. And it is what it is. So now I really don't care if somebody just stops by. I might straighten up a little bit, but my house will still be messy. I promise you. There will be stuff on the dining room table. There will be stuff on the kitchen counter. Like, hopefully it will smell good because I probably will still light my candles because I do like it to smell good in there. But you're probably going to see dirty dishes in the sink and maybe even laundry that hasn't been folded on the floor. Like, it's my home, and anyone who walks in the door should be somebody who's my friend that loves me, supports me, and doesn't care about how my house looks. And I'm usually pretty confident that only that kind of person will come over because I don't have super judgmental friends anymore like I used to. My life has become less stressful because I've stopped acting like this martyr almost who doesn't ask for help and kills herself trying to impress people that don't even care about the things that she's killing herself over. So that kind of wraps up my part about how to quit controlling everything at home. Now I want to move in some other areas of life, and these I won't go into as long because it's already kind of a long podcast. I didn't realize I could go on for that long about controlling shit in your home, but here we are. So next I want to talk about trying to control other people. The too long didn't read version of this section is it's not worth your time. It's not worth your stress. Stop trying to control other people because you don't like to be controlled, I'm pretty sure. And, in some situations, maybe we like to be controlled, but for the most part, it is very suffocating to be controlled by somebody and to try to force them into your little box. So don't do that. You don't need to do that anymore. You just go on living your best life and let them live theirs. So I feel like I've struggled with this in the past. I have dealt with feeling like people were trying to control me, and I've also dealt with realizing I was trying to control other people. Neither of those things are good. It doesn't feel good to be controlled. It doesn't feel good to realize that you're controlling somebody else. So what I mean by this is don't put pressure on people to fit inside of your box, your mold, your beliefs, and your lifestyle. I think it's normal for people to disappoint us in life, but we don't have to take it as a personal attack. We can just be like, okay, like that's a person choosing to live their life the way they're living it. And I'm over here living mine the way I want to live mine. Now, if this is somebody who you have to rely on a lot or you need things from, set expectations for them. Don't try to control them. Just try to give them parameters. Like if they are always 30 minutes late when you guys go out for a lunch date and like you have only an hour that you can go, talk to them about that. Just say, I know that you've been running late the last couple times. Would you rather just meet later so that I can take my full lunch break with you? And better yet, lower your expectations of them. I have found when I don't expect anything from people, they start surprising me because for a long time, I expected the world from people because I feel like a lot of times I give people the world. I love to help people. I love to be there. I love to check in on them. I love to do all of these things, but rarely did I get that kind of love back. And so I just told myself, you know what? I cannot control them, but I can control how I feel about how they treat me. And if they've proved something is a pattern, something is the way that they act on a regular basis, then I need to take that into account and lower my own expectations. That's not you folding to them. It's just getting some shit off of your shoulders so that you can feel less weighed down by how other people have let you down. It's kind of like when you forgive somebody, but you forgive them for you, not for them. You forgive them so that you don't feel so bad, so that you can let go of that pain. And sometimes you hope that they still carry it for a long time, but you do it for yourself. So let go of these expectations for yourself. And I feel like there's a lot of things I could say on how to quit controlling people, but I think we know the obvious answers. Don't cut people off. Don't be embarrassed by things that they say. Don't call them out in front of people. Like, have a private conversation if you need to. Don't outwardly be disappointed with how they live their life. And just love them fully, as much as you can, in the same way you want them to love you. You cannot control that person in your life that you want to so badly. You just want to shake them and say, I know what's best for you. I want you to do these things. You can't do that. So we've got to let it go. Yeah, I could say way more on that, but we're just going to move on. So next, I want you to quit controlling your life. I feel like this is the opposite of what a lot of people say, because a lot of people say you have the power, you do all of the things in your life, and you will get everything you want. I hope that is true. I hope that works for you. But I want you to just let go of a little bit of control if you feel like you can. Now, you know that I am woo. I love birth chart readings. I love astrology. I love learning about tarot. I love thoughts about the universe and having spiritual experiences. And I think we can manifest the hell out of some things, and they will manifest. They will come to be something. And I think sometimes we will do that and nothing will happen, or it won't happen for a long time. I feel like this is very comparable to praying. So it's something that you want so, so bad. You're asking for it every day. You're working towards it every day. I hope that you get that thing that you are working for. But I believe there are way more divine things out there that are influencing some things here on earth. So even if it is something that you want with all of your heart and you're manifesting it or you're praying about it and you don't get it, try not to let that take you down, because that can be so disheartening and so hard to work through if it's something that you really, really want. You might get it down the road, or maybe there's another plan in place. So manifest the shit out of whatever you want to, but also just do it with just kind of an ask. You know, don't try to control so much, because that's when we take that pressure on ourselves and we say, I didn't do it right. I didn't ask the right way. And that's why I didn't get what I wanted. But I think that's bullshit. I don't think you need to believe that. I've stopped believing that. And even if it was something I had to mourn because I didn't get it, I was able to step away from it because I just took it as an answer. It wasn't the answer I wanted, but it was an answer. So I would love for you to just kind of release some of that pressure from yourself. So I just did an episode 19, on self-help books that actually helped me. And I kind of talked through this next point. And I basically wanted to talk about being on a spiritual journey versus having really rigid, like, learning experiences and routines and implementing things ferociously in a way that's like almost scary and very intense. So like I talk about in episode 19, everything that I learned from a self-help book, I kind of take with a grain of salt. Some things like stab me in the heart or like put me on cloud nine and I am ready to go and implement new things. Other times I need to sit on some stuff. I need to really process through it. I need to think about what I've learned versus just immediately implementing all of these things that the book told me to do. And I think that's totally fine, because life is a journey. It goes by quickly, but we also have a long time to work on ourselves, to love ourselves better, and to become better people if we want to be. It doesn't always have to be an overnight change, and that can be very hard in the first place. So remember that it's a journey. Every time you hear advice, a new approach to something, try it out if you want to, if it interests you and you think it would fit into your life, but don't be so strict and controlling about it. Try to just kind of let it flow and see where it goes. And this kind of goes hand in hand with it, but I've really been thinking more and talking more about growing slow versus trying to do everything at once to be an overnight success. And I've even had this lately, I've been talking through with Dylan, like, different things to do with the podcast, different things to launch, different things to offer. And I was feeling very overwhelmed with all of it. And he was like, why don't you just wait? And I was like, I can wait. I can wait. I can be patient. I can do some hard work now, and I can grow this slowly. Instead of having a goal that I reach in 12 weeks, that can be an end of the year goal that I set. So giving myself the permission to grow slow helps me to not control so much, because I never know what's coming next, because I'm moving a little slower versus knowing each step that I'm taking and sprinting there. So another way that I've tried to quit controlling my life is by not acting like someone I'm not anymore. For a long time, I felt like I needed to be the bubbly, girly, happy, bouncy, friendly girl that was always down for whatever, willing to help people, wanted to make people laugh. And some of those things really are me. But I also had a lot of things that I faked or had to force in order to fit this version of Morgan versus who I naturally was. And I felt like I needed to do that to impress certain people, to fit in with certain crowds. And I just got tired of deluding myself and not being able to show the raw, more real sides of myself, because a lot of times people see me as sweet and bubbly and fun, and they would not believe the shit that I've been through. And I just needed to give myself permission to be both of those people. Now, I will say it has made me a little bit of a darker person at times, because I've stepped so far away from that girl, the girl who kept things light and airy and fun. And I still like to have fun. I still like to have a good time, but I also kind of like to talk about hard stories when I'm having a good time. I don't know. It's just, I feel like there are some things about me that are never going to change. I am always going to be an anxious person. Now that I'm on medication, it's helping a lot, but I'm just protecting myself from certain situations that would make me feel like I had to turn a switch and become this other girl, because I'm just not her anymore. And I think some people miss that girl, and I get it, but it's my life, and I am just not up for controlling who I am, what my personality is, how I come off to strangers. And instead, I'm just trying to accept that I am the way that I am. Some people are going to love me for that. Some people are going to hate me. That's okay. So ultimately, I want you to let curiosity lead the way in your life. I want you to try new things, and I want you to suck at it. I want you to have 100 different hobbies in your lifetime. Maybe just don't keep all the shit from the ones you aren't enjoying anymore. I want you to make time to truly rest and recharge. And please do not schedule every minute of your life. Leave some time for wonder and adventure and creativity to kind of take the wheel, because I feel like that's when the true magic of our life happens. I know that kids have sports to play and extra classes to go to, and you have commitments, and you have friends that want to have dinner, and you have shopping trips that you want to take and vacations, but don't schedule your life so much you're not living it anymore. Stop controlling everything so that you know exactly what to expect. Leave some room for something to push you out of your comfort zone or take you in a whole new direction that you never would have taken on purpose. I really hope that this conversation encourages you to quit controlling everything. I know it's hard. I know it is a process. Be gentle with yourself. Just try to let go of little things here and there. I promise it will become addicting. Ask for help when you need it. And I know not everybody has the luxury of having a partner that is willing to pitch in and do things, but I hope you will find the help that you need, whether it's through a therapist or a friend or your kids. I promise somebody wants to help you through this. You don't have to do everything yourself. And if you just let go of that little bit of control, I hope that that relieves you enough that you can get back to living your life, because you need to get to it. Thank you so much for watching this video today. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future ones. And don't forget to come check me out on Instagram. I'm at Good Hearted Podcast, and I would love to continue our conversation there. I'll see you in my next video.